Hey, it's Marina, travel experta, and today we're going to be talking about visas and residencies in Guatemala. Are you guys ready for an adventure? Let's begin. When you enter Guatemala, depends on your country, you will get a stamp. It's kind of like a visa, right? You do not normally, I don't know any actual country that requires you to get a visa before you enter Guatemala. But when you enter Guatemala, that stamp is kind of like your permitted stay in Guatemala is considered like a visa for US citizens, Europeans, and for the most part of the countries, it is 90 days. I do know that there are other countries that only give you 30 days, but overall, you will get a stamp for 90 days when you enter the country. So here's the thing. Guatemala is part of this group of countries, Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador. There are four countries that when you get that 90-day stamp, it's 90 days for those four countries. So you cannot exit and get a restamp in any of those four countries because it's considered part of those unless you fly to the other countries and then you get a whole new stamp. But we're not going to be talking about flying, right? Flying is a little bit different. So after 90 days, technically you do need to leave the country for 3 days to come back, right? So a lot of people either go to Mexico or Belize if they cross the border and then they come back. Or again, like I said, you could fly out to any other country and then come back. However, there are quite a few loopholes. One is you could go to migration in Guatemala City and ask for an extension, and you will get another usually 90 days. Again, it will depend on the day of the migration, but the norm is usually an extra 90 days. You do have to pay a minimal price. That's not a problem. As of today, if you overstay and you plan on going anywhere, you get to the airport, you will just have to pay, it's like the multa, like the fine, and it's 15 quetzales per day, which is around $2 per day extra, right? So, but again, very important to remember, you need to pay that at the bank, which is in Guatemala City Airport. However, the bank is not open 24 hours. And if you have a super early flight or a super late flight and you have to pay this fee, you might get screwed and not be permitted to fly out. So make sure you find out when you fly out because you could pay that fee right there. But if not, then you still have to go to migration office and do the whole thing. And in that case, you might just want to do the extension. So here's the thing. If you do the extension, you cannot overstay more than 6 months without paying that fine. So you do get technically, the 90 days, and then you could do another 90 days. But after that, if you're going to be overstaying and you want to fly out, make sure that your flight leaves when the bank is open in Guatemala City Airport and arrive there in time to do the whole payment process. Okay, because it does take extra. Sometimes it could take an hour because of the lines in Guatemala. Okay, so that is just your basic tourist visa, whatnot. Now, if you want to apply for a residency, there are many different ways to do so, right? If you have a child in Guatemala and your child is born here, obviously you could go through that. I have an entire episode talking about giving birth in Guatemala, so make sure you go and check that one out. So you could go and start the process like that. And once the process is started, then you already are in the system and you don't really need to go through the tourist visa thing. You do need to hire a lawyer. You can do it on your own. Don't bother. Get a lawyer. It's so much easier. You're not even going to be spending that much money and they handle so much more for you. Okay, so that's one way to get a residency. Obviously, if you're married to a Guatemalan, that's another way to get a residency. If you are going to be investing in Guatemala, buying a home here, opening up a business, you'll need to do similar. And this is all done through the legal system, through the lawyer. There are many fantastic lawyers here that could help you, and a lot of them speak English or your language. So go through that process, right? And once you start the residency process, that's when you don't have to worry about renewing your visas and leaving the country and all that other stuff. All right. So if you have any other questions for me, I'm happy to help. You could always go to my website, travelexperta.com, travelexpert.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review and make sure to have every day an adventure. Okay, guys, thank you.